Hey guys, episode 25 of the ISA Portfolio series. Quick reminder to anyone who wants to sign up to Trading212, get a free share, and I'll get a free share as well. Use my link in the description or as a pinned comment. So big week this week, up about £5,000 on the portfolio, and I've added about £8,000, which has come from a sale of a small amount of my Bitcoin. Wanted to start cashing out, so not sort of longer term anything changed. I said I would cash out a little bit at this level, so £8,000 has gone in. Obviously that's in the Trading212 invest account, because the ISAs are full. So the Hargreaves ISA has seen a nice little bit of gain this week. So gold price been doing well. Appears to have maybe had its bottom sort of last month or so, and sort of potential US stimulus package and lockdowns potentially on the way for them as Biden sort of looks like he's getting in, and it's not, the virus isn't doing particularly well in America, so they're potentially going to have a lockdown, and expect the stimulus would mean sort of good news for Bitcoin and gold and silver, really. So good side on that. And so looking at Trading212 at the ISA, pretty good for the week, up about £1,500. So just looking at the movers, the ARCPI hasn't really moved at all in the last week, so not too bad. Alibaba's a bit flat. Obviously with the Bitcoin increase, this little ETF has gone up quite nicely, 24% in the last week. So that's where part of the gain has come, certainly. BT just up a little, 3%. Sentiment hasn't really moved up with the gold price, a bit surprised by that. Obviously they're still having a bit of troubles with their sort of particular business rather than just the gold price, so that may be part of that. Digital Realty Trust had a little bit of a recovery, did go down to sort of $128, is one that I'm looking to sort of try and buy more of, but I don't really want to buy it in the invest account for tax reasons, so would only want to buy that in the ISA, really. So that may come from sort of sale of gold miners down the line. First Majestic Silver has really moved with the silver price, 16-17% up. So that's a good move. Silver should start to sort of really do well, still quite underpriced. Glaxo still sort of struggling. Haven't really put anything into this in a while. Greatland Gold still doing very well. Had a little dip last week or so, but doing pretty well. 15% up this week. Nice little sort of speculative explorer rather than just the miners, so nice for a little bit of diversification within gold. And what else we got? Legal and General, just a small position, 5%. Might be one that I'll look to put some money in the invest account. Nintendo done pretty well this last week. I haven't seen any particularly good news. I saw they're sort of downplaying the Switch Pro that has been sort of rumoured for next year. They're saying they're just going to continue with the ordinary Switch. So surprised. I thought that would not have been good news. So Polymetal pretty much flat, had a little dip during the week. Again, a bit surprised with the rising gold price. This hasn't sort of picked up a little, but maybe it'll come next week. PHP, again, 8% up this week. Seems to be doing quite well. But I can't really put too much in here. Same with DLR. I want to have the REITs sort of all in the ISA, so this will just have to be investing in them at slightly higher prices. Realty income had another little drop. I did buy some more. I sold out of the Square position, so I've still just got some money in Square in the ArcPi, but I had a little bit more than that, and I sold out of that and bought Realty Income. I think I did buy it at sort of pretty much the high of the week, $61, but this is really for the monthly income, so not too bothered about that. Rio Tinto, fairly flat, couple of percent for the week. Again, would have liked to sort of get more into that at lower prices. Bought a little bit in the invest account, which I will come to later. So Square's down to just sort of half a share now. The little penny stock, Supply at Me Capital, had a rough week, 12% down, but has been sort of moving up reasonably well over the last month, 40% up in the last month. Nice little penny stock speculation. And my huge investment in Sylvania has been doing pretty well, 6% in the last week. Prices still seem to be going up. Rhodium prices still going up, $16,500 now for rhodium. So again, can only see this doing well over the next sort of month or two. Still potential special dividend announcement early in the year, so I expect it'll rocket up as soon as that's announced. Taylor Wimpey, good week for them as well, 8% up. They had a little sort of dip downwards to £1.50, and they've sort of recovered from that. So that's good. I've got quite a large position between this and the invest account, about 2,500 in that, so I wouldn't be sort of throwing money at it too soon. Yes, Tesla, all-time highs and all that, $661. Did make a little bit more than that, $675. I think it went up to $690 at one point. But yes, so I've got my one share, still don't know what to do with it really. Virgin Galactic had a poor sort of test run over the last weekend, so that just immediately dropped down this week. It's now sitting at nearly 13% loss, but see how it goes. A lot of people still hopeful for it, and it's a bit of sort of speculation. One of my growth stocks, Volkswagen, had a nice week, 9% up in the week. The sort of various companies have all seemed to have got behind the CEO, and they're sort of happy going forward. So that's sort of, they have a lot of political struggles, and if that's sort of going away, then they should be coming into a better valuation, because the forward PE seems to be sort of under 10, I think sort of 7 or 8, depending on what you see as the projected earnings. So still see that as good. Obviously it's a big gamble transitioning into electric vehicles, but we'll see how this goes. This is my sort of anti-Tesla investment, basically. So I've put, again, I'll come back to in the invest account, I've made another investment. So yeah, let's go to, that's the ISA for the week. Let's go to the invest account, because that has made the big changes of the week. So £8,000, just over £8,000 sold of Bitcoin has all gone into this in the last week, and I've made sort of 7 or 8 reasonable investments into some of these companies and a couple of new ones. So I put some into 3M, put some into Alibaba, still seems to be sort of struggling, but again, incredible growth rate projected forward. So it's, as I say, similar growth rate to sort of Amazon, maybe a little less, but doesn't have the crazy sort of forward PEs. So quite like Alibaba, and sort of fairly bullish on China. So quite like that. 3M sort of fairly flat, really, hasn't been doing too much, but just a solid sort of dividend company. Arch Daniels Midland, put a little bit more into them, again sort of fairly flat, doesn't really move all that much, to be honest, but I quite like the sort of just basic food. I was looking for sort of something in that space, basically. You know, they make ingredients rather than the actual food, so it's always needed, whatever people are eating, really. One of the big positions is Broadcom. So they seem quite a high-paying dividend company, about 3% dividend, but they've got sort of fairly well growing earnings, and seems to be a sort of reasonable forward PE. So essentially a sort of tech growth company, but with an already high dividend, as opposed to sort of Apple and Microsoft, where you're sort of holding them for years and years hoping for the dividend to go up. They already pay quite a nice dividend, and they're growing it at a huge rate. So I thought go for them, and yeah, pretty good. So Caterpillar, everyone sort of knows their industrial equipment, large sort of plant. Seems to be a solid company, reasonably growing earnings, reasonable sort of dividend, maybe a little overvalued, but I'm coming out of Bitcoin, so it's you got to buy something, and obviously this is far less volatile and risky than Bitcoin, so quite happy with that. Diageo hasn't really moved, haven't put any money into this, but still bullish on them, really. Intel, put a little bit more into Intel, but that was before they've been sort of trickling down throughout the week, but then they've had another drop down, I think due to Microsoft announcing that they're thinking of following Apple's sort of lead and developing ARM chips, so could potentially be a bit of a loss for Intel, but they still have a huge amount of the data center market, so can't see any sort of particular troubles with them. They may have a bit of loss of revenue, but generate a huge amount of cash, and just see them sort of coming back eventually. They'll be putting so much money into R&D, and certainly I would think they can catch up with AMD. Not too sure about the sort of transition into ARM, though. They don't seem to be all that interested in that, but do want to sort of add to this position, and I'll continue to if it goes down. Johnson & Johnson, just a sort of stable medical company. This was on my sort of long-term pie, so just put a little bit of money into this. Stable growing dividend, and obviously you can see fairly stable growth over time, so quite like them. Kia Group, obviously haven't put any money in these, it's just the old position, but had a good week. Sold out of this in the ISA, but I'm just keeping this here for a little while, see how they do. So added a load more to Lockheed Martin, part of the Bitcoin money. Quite like them. They're obviously American army is sort of never going to diminish, it seems. So they've got huge contracts for decades. So seems to be a stable growing dividend. Quite like them. Got my one share in Nintendo. Haven't added anything recently, but was kind of hoping for the price to stay a little bit lower than this. Maybe they'll have some bad news or sort of drop in the share price maybe if they're not going to do their new console. Neo is sort of recovering a little bit from the drop. Had quite a nasty drop down to sort of $40. Recovered a little bit. Wondering whether to sort of get out of this and start going for my more nice dividend companies. I was going to put a load of more into Volkswagen from the Bitcoin sale. I was looking to put about £1,000 into Volkswagen, but I went for Porsche. Slightly different. It's basically Volkswagen. The sort of main attributes of the company is they own 30% of Volkswagen, which own Porsche entirely. So you're not buying Porsche, you're buying 30% of Volkswagen, but they spend obviously they get 30% of the dividend from Volkswagen, and they spend the money a little bit differently. They don't pay out all the dividend, obviously, and they invest in some other sort of smaller companies and that sort of thing. So it's very, very similar to Volkswagen, but slightly sort of undervalued. It's worth less than 30% of the market cap of Volkswagen because there's a few sort of political issues within the company and the families and that sort of thing. So sort of buying Volkswagen at a discount, really. So quite like that, but obviously this is essentially another investment into Volkswagen. Upped my stake in Raytheon, similar to Lockheed Martin, really. Maybe not quite 100% as safe as Lockheed Martin. They sort of seem to be the more favourable company with the US, but Raytheon still sort of fairly solid company, and gives a little bit sort of diversity within the sort of defence sector. So again, nice dividend. So happy to get in them. Upped my stake a little bit in Rio Tinto. Quite like them. Again, sort of its share price has gone up a fair bit over the last month, but still a nice sort of forward PE and fairly stable company. Shell, I haven't added anything. It's just sort of flat for the week, but still happy with this position in the longer term. A little bit of Sylvania Platinum in there. Taylor Wimpey I've shown. Tyson Foods. So this wasn't in the dividend pie that I've shown before. This is mainly sort of some of the dividend companies in the pie, sort of the food-based, sort of McDonald's and Unilever and that sort of thing, just look quite expensive. And they just sort of don't seem to be something I want to invest in right at the moment. Tyson, sort of big US food company, but sort of at a better valuation. They've had a few sort of issues with their plants in the US, a little bit of sort of virus problems. They didn't really deal with that all too well, so they've been sort of trailing down over the last week, but again, sort of fairly nice dividend, and should be sort of quite good long term. I think I may sort of include these in the pie now, and again, just sort of shy away from the sort of overvalued big boys, McDonald's and maybe even some of the other sort of Procter and Gamble and that sort of thing. I think just everyone's going for them, and they're almost at sort of tech stock valuations. So not very happy with that. And a small, well, sort of £500 investment into Western Digital. So seems to have been sort of taken a real battering over the last year, obviously. Issues with sort of oversupply of hard drives, and they're obviously having to switch to SSDs and NAND memory as opposed to sort of traditional hard drives. But I've sort of seen a lot of growth. Obviously, I'm buying at the high point of this recovery. Could have bought earlier on, but obviously this is selling from Bitcoin. They've stopped their dividend, but the projected earnings are sort of predicted to come back quite strongly over the next couple of years, and expect they will restart the dividend and should be a sort of fairly solid player. A little bit cyclical company maybe, but yeah, sort of fairly bullish for these. Not sure it'll be in the long-term pie 100%, but sort of see how they go. But again, gives me a little bit more sort of tech, maybe tech industrials exposure, which I didn't really have too much of. But yeah, so that's the invest account, and that's where all the Bitcoin money has gone this week. So I'll obviously maybe over the next few months be doing this again, selling out a load of Bitcoin and sort of doing the same again. And we'll have to look at what's good value then. So yeah, a little bit of a long video this week, but sort of have good reason. Obviously with the big investments, wanted to show you what I was doing, and I may make an update to the long-term sort of stocks pie and ETFs pie over the Christmas period. So yeah, drop a like if you like the video, always appreciated, and leave your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe if you want to see more. See you soon.